friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ariana. I'm a coach, a breathwork facilitator, and here on this channel you will find lots of conversations about breathwork, about nervous system health, holistic well-being, and occasionally I'll be sprinkling in a little bit of topics around entrepreneurship and just some general life stuff because that's how I like to roll. So today I'm going to be talking about a topic that is a little bit of a buzzword right now, and it's actually buzzwords, 2 words. And what we're talking about today is nervous system dysregulation. I'll say that again for you, nervous system dysregulation. Now, before you go running away because that sounds like a super sciencey topic that you don't really want to get into, I really invite you to stick around for this conversation. Because like I said, this word is becoming really trendy, and I actually love that the conversation around nervous system health is becoming mainstream. You know, a few years ago, nobody was talking about the nervous system, and the nervous system literally governs every single aspect of our experience. But what's happening now that this conversation is coming in the mainstream and we live in this wonderful world of social media where everybody can just disseminate information, is that we're starting to have the conversation around our nervous system health and what it means to be regulated versus dysregulated. It's being oversimplified a little bit, and we're not actually getting a lot of the correct information that we need to be receiving in order to actually do something about the health of our nervous system. So today what we're going to cover is what the heck nervous system dysregulation is and how it can show up in your day-to-day experience, as well as what you can begin to do to restore balance and harmony within your nervous system. So stick around. So what is nervous system dysregulation? Well, we can look at what nervous system regulation is. It is a nervous system that is regulated. I feel like that's a pretty obvious statement to make, but let me explain what I mean by that. So within our nervous system, we have many branches, and one of those branches is the autonomic nervous system. And we can look at the autonomic nervous system as essentially the automatic nervous system. This is the part of our nervous system that is responsible for functions that happen without our control. This is things like digestion, our heart rate, our breathing rate, things that we don't need to think about. You know, there's so much happening inside your body right now as you're watching this video, and it's absolutely fascinating once you start to think about what's happening without you even needing to be aware of it. And now again, I'm gonna keep this a little bit oversimplified just to not get too deep in the science, but within the autonomic nervous system, we have our sympathetic branch and we have our parasympathetic branch. So part of my nervous system regulation journey has been learning to stay calm and continue to film these videos despite what's going on behind me or around me with my animals. You will likely see them a lot in this video, so I'm not even going to bother trying to calm down whatever it is they're doing back there. So I hope it's not too distracting for you. Anyway, the sympathetic branch of our autonomic nervous system is what's associated with our fight or flight response. What was really helpful for me when I was in university studying anatomy and physiology was to think of my body as being sympathetic towards the stressful situations that I was experiencing. It was what allowed my heart rate to come up if I needed to be a little bit more active. It was what allowed my blood vessels to dilate to send more blood to my muscles in case I needed to run away. Whereas the parasympathetic branch of the autonomic nervous system is what's often associated with our rest and digest state. So this is when we are in a relaxed state, when we are hanging out on the couch, maybe we're petting our furry little friend, when the furry friend isn't running around like a wild animal in the apartment. But that's also where this conversation around the nervous system tends to become oversimplified, because the goal isn't always to be in the parasympathetic state as what a lot of folks are saying these days. And I'm actually going to be creating another video talking specifically about the parasympathetic branch of the autonomic nervous system and why we don't always want to make that the goal. However, for today's purposes, we can just think of these 2 branches, the sympathetic branch as being a little bit more on that activated fight or flight response, and the parasympathetic branch as being more in that chilled out, kind of calm, baseline sort of state. And so a healthy, regulated nervous system will go up and down between these two states. Our bodies have a fight or flight response for a reason. And right now, what's being talked about is how we need to get out of fight or flight. We spend too much time in fight or flight, and we're almost kind of demonizing fight or flight, like we've demonized bananas or carbohydrates within the health and wellness world in the past. The reality is we need that fight or flight response. When you are working out and you're working out at an intense rate, your body's tapping into that fight or flight response. If you're out for a hike in North Vancouver and you encounter a bear, you better hope your fight or flight response works properly. We have evolved these things for a reason. The challenge is that in today's modern world, I live here in Canada, I live on the West Coast, so it's a little bit more chill than my friends who live over on the East Coast in Ontario and Toronto, but there's still a lot of stimulation. We have stressful lives. We're going through this really weird global experience right now that's adding on a lot of stress to individuals. And so what's happening is that we're spending a lot of time up in that fight or flight state. We're coming up here and we're staying up here for maybe an extended period of time. And then maybe when we come down, we crash down. This is where we go even below that sort of chill, rest, digest, like this ideal parasympathetic state that we often talk about. And we maybe come into a point of burnout. We come into a point of being frozen. It's like we want to move forward, we want to take action, but we're unable to. And so essentially what nervous system dysregulation is it's a lack of a harmonious fluctuation between sympathetic and parasympathetic, sympathetic and parasympathetic. We may come up and be in sympathetic for an extended period of time, and then we drop way down and come into parasympathetic for an extended period of time. Again, we don't want to demonize the sympathetic branch of the nervous system. We can think of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic branches as two engines that fuel our human body. And we actually need both of them working in little bits at all times. It's just that sometimes we tend to be a little bit more sympathetic dominant, and sometimes we're more parasympathetic dominant. And a really easy way of looking at what nervous system dysregulation is that we've got too much of one going in one particular moment and not enough of the other. So how does nervous system dysregulation show up in our day-to-day experience? Well, the nervous system governs literally every aspect of our experience in our physical human bodies. It impacts our mental experience, our emotional states, and I've even seen encounters where it has impacted folks' ability to connect spiritually to something greater than themselves. So nervous system dysregulation can show up in a number of different ailments, symptoms, experiences. So what I'm about to share is by no means an exhaustive list, but this could show up in the sense of excess anxiety, an inability to calm down, autoimmune conditions, digestive disorders, sleep disorders, low libido, hormonal imbalances, feeling as though you can't get yourself up and moving for the day, a lack of zest for life, not feeling passionate really about anything. And that's one of the challenges with nervous system dysregulation, is because there's so many different symptoms that oftentimes when practitioners are working with patients, let's say somebody comes in and they're dealing with some chronic pain that won't seem to go away and they can't seem to get themselves up and moving, they may be dismissed as simply having depression, be given a pill for depression, and then sent on their way. When in actuality, if we can work at regulating the body at the level of the nervous system, we can start to restore balance, and we can see some of that pain that the individual is experiencing start to dissipate, as well as seeing their motivation and their passion for life starting to come back. So how do we restore balance in the nervous system? Well, this isn't an easy answer. There's no one and done solution for regulating the nervous system. It's really important that every single individual meet their body where they are at. It's a very personal journey. And oftentimes it's one that is not a quick fix. It does not happen overnight, and it can involve a significant amount of discomfort. And this is why a lot of folks shy away from working with their nervous system, also save for the fact that not many people know that nervous system dysregulation is at the heart of what they're experiencing. But it's a process, right? And in a world that prioritizes quick fixes and pills and, oh, we're just gonna go do some plant medicine and then everything is gonna be better, really taking time to slow down and meet your body where it's at, learn where it is at, and then find a way that works for you to begin to restore balance. It's not the sexiest thing in a world of like quick fixes and sexy things. This is why advice such as just meditate more or do some deep breathing is ineffective on a blanket level. You know, for somebody who is in a highly activated sympathetic state for extended periods of time, meditation can actually feel quite unsafe. The idea of slowing down, taking deep breaths, being in one's body, that can be very, very scary for somebody who is in this really activated, danger is approaching, I gotta go, go, go kind of state. And let's also not forget that when we have trauma layered into that as well, that can also make the experience of being in one's body significantly more challenging. Similarly, telling somebody that all they need to do is take some deep breaths and relax more and to just find ways to chill out and that's all they need to do to regulate their nervous system is also incorrect information, especially if somebody's experiencing a dorsal vagal shutdown or if they're spending too much time in the parasympathetic state. This is when we start to find that freeze response where individuals may experience depression-like symptoms where they can't seem to get themselves up and going. So we don't want to actually do more things that keep the individual in parasympathetic. We want to very gently and very slowly, meeting that person where they are at, begin to introduce things that bring them up a little bit more to baseline and then maybe even help them activate their sympathetic response a little bit. So my suggestion to you, if you're walking around in your day-to-day experience being like, what the F is wrong with me? I can't seem to get myself moving, or I'm in overdrive, like living in a dysregulated nervous system can be like having our feet both on the gas and on the brakes at the same time. And so if anything that I've mentioned today feels a little bit resonant to you, what I suggest is find a trusted professional to support you in your journey. Like I said, this is not quick and overnight work, but we can bring a little bit more ease to the path. Maybe we can shorten the path a little bit if we have somebody who we trust, who understands the body and the nervous system, who can guide us in our path to creating more capacity and more regulation within our nervous system. Maybe that looks like finding a somatic practitioner, a somatic therapist, some other kind of alternative worker who understands the nervous system, or even somebody within the medical field who is willing to look at these deeper layers. A lot of the work that I do with my clients as a coach, as a breathwork facilitator, and as somebody who has worked with the body directly with individuals for the last 8 years, is looking at these subtleties in the body and understanding how these different systems are working harmoniously or where they're starting to lack a little bit of harmony. And so there are folks out there who are trained to do this work to support you. There are folks out there who are willing and ready to support you. So please know that if you feel like you've gone all of the different routes and you've covered all the angles and you still haven't been able to find the healing that you're looking for, there is a solution out there for you. All right, that's it for today, my friends. If you have any questions or if you feel like sharing your own experience with nervous system regulation or dysregulation, I'd love for you to leave a comment below. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you would hit that like button and feel free to subscribe to be notified as I release more videos about the body, the nervous system, and breathwork and all of the wonderful things that I love to talk about. Thank you so much, my friends, and I will see you in the next video.